Hey, my name is Vernon Hansley.
And I'm Cottrell Kelly.
Welcome to the Progress Over Past podcast, where the process is transforming.
Gotta keep it moving, cause time waits for no one. Every day, every minute, every second, y'all.
Hey, what's going on, people? We got an extraordinary guest today. We got mental health advocate Dash Hudson. Welcome.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, man.
Welcome. Yeah, man. So, let's just get right into it, right? We were talking a little bit off the camera, but I want to bring it back into like what we were talking off the camera and about the mental health aspect of it, whereas though as men it was hard to express themselves. One of the reasons why we started this podcast because of we wanted to kind of anybody could talk about success, but it's the backdrop to success that people would need so they could help them get success. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like we could always say, "Hey, I survived mental health. Now I'm successful in this business."
Right.
No,
Right.
What was the steps to make you say, "I need to get my mental health together. I need to put this. I need to put some content out and let people know what I've been going through." So to help other people. What was that to say? Because anybody could just be in a shell themselves, work on themselves, but you actually shared your moment. You had shared you was vulnerable to people on social media, telling your story. But what was that made you want to start your process?
Well, I'll go into my initiation of social media. Even though, my background is in videography, so I did a lot of things behind the scenes as far as working in the music business, working in many different spaces. Also with my son name is Dash Hudson. He go by King Na. So he's been on so many different platforms, but even with him on his platform, and then I don't know how I wanted to lay this out. So even going into this, I'm going into so many different parts of my life. But as far as what brought me to social media, I always say, if you have never been 100% completely honest out loud, then you have never been yourself in the presence of anyone, right? So when I say that, I like to repeat that. If you have never been 100% completely honest out loud, then you have never been yourself in the presence of anyone, right? Yeah. Sometimes we too cool to tell our whole truth. Yeah. Sometimes we're, black or man or this, like I have no title. I have no representation. I have no influencer, celebrity perspective, whatever these mindsets that make us become a prisoner to our truth. Yeah. So I walk in my soul. Yeah. And of course it took me time to get there. Yeah. Because to touch on and speak about my upbringing, I grew up in a household, where I was consistently mentally, physically, verbally abused. Yeah. And it's not that my mother was just this cold, numb person. She was just parenting me the way that she was parented. Right. So because she was physically abused, hit, yelled at, screamed at, my mother created that same environment for me. So whenever I was crying, my mother used to beat me until I stopped crying. I literally, and even learning about the DSM, a lot of us talk about mental health, but we don't truly understand it. We don't truly know how to unpack it. So the same way you have a digital algorithm, we have a mental and emotional algorithm. So I always say a boy with a low self-esteem grows to be a man with no self-esteem. I was programmed to not cry. Yeah. Friends dying, didn't cry.
Would you say that's you said that, you was pretty much carrying over with your mom, how your mom was parented. Do you think it's part of a generational curse type of thing, the term that they say?
Yeah, it's a domino effect. A lot of times we become void of our parents, and we're just literally creating that system. I always say we become our household, right? So I say your house has a hold on you, mentally, emotionally. I became that same program. I became that same void. I became that same frustration and anger. I hated my father with my mother's voice. That's all I heard her say. I hate him. All my friends. We all. I don't even know hate yet.
Right. Exactly. Don't understand it.
I knew my mother's facial expressions. I knew her pain. I became her pain.
Yeah.
I became her frustration. I became her sadness. So that became me saying I hate my father.
Yeah.
All my friends, we hate fathers, to the point when I became a father, I thought deadbeat was on autopilot. I just
Yeah.
thought, without even trying or without even making an attempt. Yeah.
So let me ask you, so real fast, because I don't want to go too further, right? So your mom was verbally, physically abusing you because that's the way she grew up with. Then she
She was just parenting.
parenting from her perspective.
Yeah.
But then she was blaming you because she was mad at your father.
No, she wasn't. These are things that I unpacked with layers of just understanding my mother's situation.
Yeah.
My mother was just alive and just being.
Yeah.
You know, until you're able to look back and just process and look at your whole upbringing, unpack it, dissect it. These are the things that I like interpret now. And so I would say pain is a language.
Yeah.
You know, and pain does two things. It creates impact and it comes with information. But sometimes we sit with the pain so long that we don't extract the information. So I know how to speak every element and every aspect of my childhood. Yeah. So just to answer your first question, as far as what brought me to social media. So I had like so many challenges when it comes to quote unquote, like what we call mental health. And I say healing is allowing your mind to catch up with your heart.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we go through painful experiences and we don't want to feel it again. We don't want to see it again. We don't want to connect to it again. So we shut down, right? And we don't want to be triggered. We don't want to feel. And the process of just finding myself, finding the journey. So, and I'm going to skip a lot of things because you asked me what got me to social media. So, you know, Tyrese is my brother. And when he was going through the situation with his daughter, literally when I was in Georgia, we said, and the way I got connected with Tyrese is with my son. So King Dash Hudson, he actually made a video about like why is it funny? Because when the internet, and I pretty much created that talking point that went viral. It didn't go viral from me. Somebody like reduplicated when I said a black man tears are a meme. And I was talking about Kanye West, Tyrese, and how whenever we express ourselves, whenever we show vulnerability, it becomes a meme, it becomes a joke. Right. And my son pretty much communicated that, and like Tyrese reached out to us, like that was like 2016, 17, whatever time that was. So me and Tyrese was just build. But he actually connected me to his therapist, and that was the first time I went to therapy as a grown-up. Because whenever I was dealing with therapists, it was when I was younger. So I know what it feels like to be behind that glass wall, to be in mental health facilities. Yeah. So I always had a negative, like communication or stigma when it came to therapy and therapists because of my introduction.
Real fast, let me touch on something real fast. You said the black man tears is a meme, right? Yeah. The crazy thing is when you said that, I thought about all the memes that people use when somebody's crying.
That's what somebody did. I made that talking point, and somebody put Kanye in the meme.
Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan.
So I literally said that like at least like 4 or 5 years ago, but somebody took it and created that expression of it. And so I always say like also like we have manufactured thought syndrome. And I come up with like my own, I would like to
I was very sick because I never heard of these ones before.
I would like to add things to the DSM. That's the diagnostic manual. That's what all like psychologists and therapists study. Like when I say manufactured thought syndrome, like we become content. Like how many of us have friends that was like literally characters in Menace to Society? You know, characters.
100%.
So same like my father was music videos. That's how I learned what women was. That's like it's literally like became my representation of life. So when I say manufactured thought syndrome, because like same thing when I was young, I never seen a man cry, never seen a man be vulnerable or express himself. So we become the content, we become the stories, we start to mirror and duplicate. So along what was going on in my neighborhood, in my household, you know, even when I went to football practice, basketball practice, you fall, get up, don't cry. So that became my life. That became my story. So what Tyrese did for me, introducing me back to therapy, that created such a whirlwind. But that's literally how I got connected to social media. Psychotherapy is one of my most beneficial methods of therapy. It's basically expressing yourself, unpacking, sharing, communicating, talking, balancing out your nervous system. So it wasn't enough time in the world for me to have therapy with the therapist. So I started recording myself. I started recording myself, talking about every painful situation, everything I ever been through. I would cry, I would break down. So that turned into hundreds of videos on my phone.
Gotcha.
So in like 2020, I think it was like February 14th, because I never really had social media. My son, his page was like 400,000 people. My son was on Dr. Oz, Good Morning America. I also worked in a battle rap where I had a company called Undeniable TV. I went by Dash Living, like, so a lot of Jersey battle rappers. I'm responsible for a lot of like putting them out there. But so those videos I got on TikTok, and within a month I had like 100,000 people. You know, from just
you just letting yourself go.
Share, but these was like my real. This was my real pain. This was my real story. This was my real tears, and it was like
So
I wasn't expecting a following. I'm like,
let me rewind for a second, right? So, what was one of the first videos that you put out there? So let's just rewind it back. What was the first? Because you had to. What was that first? Because you put like, let's say I'm gonna put this video out. What was that first video?
See, I don't even remember the video because like my background is in like marketing promotion, so I understand social media.
But what was one of, not the first one, but was around, what was the, because if you're unpacking, right, you're unpacking, you was telling your life, right, telling your story. What was that story? What was that? Say, you know, I want to do this because I know you had some trauma growing up, right? What was that?
So I can give you bits and pieces of my story, so I know those pieces are on the internet. But I don't actually remember the first video. But I definitely talk about me being molested at 6 years old, being in a foster home. So I know bits and pieces of those videos. So
that's where I'm at. So can we talk about that, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so you was you was molested at 6 years old while you was with your mom?
I was molested on my way to school, and I also was molested in one of the mental health facilities.
Got you. And okay, so you with your mom, living with your mom at this time? Or no?
I was living with my mother at that time, and that was really the domino effect that got me put in a foster home. Because again, like my mother used to beat me, hit me, yell at me, like, so I always got in trouble for crying. Right. So when I was molested on my way to school, I literally went to school the whole day. Right, so if you got a 6-year-old fire, like imagine, I was just froze. I was just
because I was going to ask you, like, what was the thought process like going through all what you was going through, like just not really understanding at that young age?
Let me tell you, like, how I equated it, right? Because I sat and thought one day about the pain that I felt, and I'm like, I thought, like, what pain could I like equate this to? And I always remember like how women express giving birth. Like I'm like, man, that's how, right? And not going through it, but I remember the first time I told my son's mother. So I held it in from 6 to like 24. She was the first person I told. And that felt like giving birth, right? But of course it wasn't a life, but it kind of was my new life. From like expressing it and saying it out loud because I held it in. And that became my pain. I was a walking volcano. I became numb. I became violent. I became angry. And I always say, like, I call it turtle shell syndrome. Like a turtle is soft, the shell is hard. Right? So when the world see a man and they see the pride, the ego, the anger, they look at it like, you know, oh, narcissist. And I was like, whenever you see ego, we don't really feel safe. Whenever you see anger, we don't feel safe. Especially if you have misplaced anger, where you're afraid to be sad, so you only know how to utilize anger. So that's all my neighborhood taught me, how to utilize anger.
Shit, a lot of people is locked up because they don't know how to express their feelings, express, you know what I mean, they angry, so they cause them to do some dumb shit, and all they had to do is
fight or flight. Right? Because like deers don't get hit on the highway because they can't run away from the car. Right? Fight or flight is like you freeze, and now you like, your next move is a reaction. It's not because you don't think about fear. You don't think anger. Anger happens. And are you emotionally intelligent enough to process what you feel? Right? Anger stops the oxygen from flowing to your frontal cortex. Right? So you're literally in a dying state. So that's why, yo, breathe. Like, you literally got to balance yourself back out.
Yeah.
Same thing when you're on a plane.
Yeah.
You don't tell your body, yo, get scared right now. It's turbulence.
Yeah.
You just scared,
Yeah.
and now you got to think your way back into a balanced state, right? So it's like when we talk about emotional intelligence, emotional intelligence is like any other level of intelligence.
Yeah.
Like, we don't just grow up knowing how to read.
Yeah.
We have to. This is why when we have young men, we have to teach them how to be emotionally intelligent.
So let me ask you this: you speaking on emotional intelligence, is that where therapy helps? That because I know, because even myself, like, just until I really learned that therapy could really help you. Like, I had this thing, like, you know, what's somebody else going to really tell me about myself, right? So I didn't really quite understood it, you know. So one of the main things I'm seeing now, especially when we talk about mental health and know how to deal with your emotions, and especially like in the where it's not readily available in neighborhoods and stuff like that, in communities. How important is it to have therapy? Because some people may not even know that they actually need it. Some people may feel like they're okay inside, but really dying on the inside. How does that therapy help with that emotional intelligence piece?
Basically, therapy is mental and emotional maintenance. You know, so I equate it to any level of mechanics, right? So if you are the vehicle, right, you are the vessel, and you're broken, right? So equate that to your car being on the side of the road,
Right.
and it's like, my car broke down, but I don't know why. Yes, you know how to operate the vehicle, but do you know the parts and the pieces, right? So emotional intelligence is learning, like, one is like, because like we always say you're only worth your thoughts. I also say life is a language and conversations control your destiny. So a lot of us don't even have the words. Same thing with me. Like, I didn't have the words for my reality. I didn't know how to process my reality. And the thing about when you don't have access to information, you become a product of your environment, like we always say, right?
Yeah.
But we don't understand that our environment is a product.
Yeah.
If I control your school system, if I control the information, if I control the minds, if I control, like, now you're limited. So emotional intelligence and because we talk about mental health, I always just say, are you mentally healthy?
Right.
So how do you feel? Can you express yourself? So even like social media, like, relationship conversations are all
over the place. All over the place.
But we don't know how to, like, even like, because a lot of people that watch some of my content, they don't even know what they're watching. I just found like a medicine and a candy method to communicate mental health. I'm not even talking about relationships.
Right.
Right. This is just the vitamin fruit snack.
Yeah.
That you're gonna relate to this relationship conversation, but I'm slipping in this solution for abandonment issues.
Yeah.
I'm slipping in this solution for you know, being emotionally impulsive, but I'm gonna introduce it like a relationship conversation to like, but like, I'll create a safe space for vulnerability, because some people monetize emotions. Like, I don't want to drag you in to trigger you to make you a emotional consumer, right? And salute, respect, right, to Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels he hooked people in. Because if you can't control your emotions, you're going to be controlled by your emotions.
Yeah.
So if you hate me enough to watch me and comment 100 times, you're a digital emotional consumer.
Yeah.
Shit, there's a lot of digital emotional
Because
fuckers all on the internet.
But
Right?
people don't understand.
No, I understand it now I can look at it and say, motherfucker, you need some therapy.
Because look. When I say every interaction is a transaction, right?
Yeah.
You think you ain't paid me because you ain't swiped a debit card.
Yeah.
You paid me when you commented.
Come
You
on,
paid
man.
me when you watched.
Yeah.
You paid me when you gave me. Because when you look at the analytics, it's like, okay, watch time.
Yeah.
Your half an hour accumulates this amount of cents.
Yeah.
So if I could trigger you for a half an hour, you $5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because like it seems like you say a lot of posts on social media about like relationships and just, you know, work, entrepreneurship, whatever that may be, and it's like the social media platforms become like this, outside therapist that everybody could go to now, but they don't really, like you said, they don't really understand it, don't know really how to process what they're thinking. They just going off about whatever somebody else said, and it just feels good to them, and it makes them feel good about whatever situation they had, you know. So I definitely like what you said about that. Would you call it a digital consumer? Monetizing, man, because it's just like so many people now use it. It's like fake therapists out there, just out there using it.
But it's different though, and and I think, you know, it definitely need to be a class on that, because the internet is beautiful. Even me, like, I advocate for mental health. But what if I told you most of my clients when I do one-on-one sessions are therapists? Like most of my clients are therapists.
That's crazy.
But therapists need therapy.
But I just say that. What I say that too?
Yeah.
But look, the crazy thing that happened to me with the therapist that Tyrese hooked me up with, right? My fourth session, I literally, like, I had to go home and like unpack my life, because I'm like, man, I broke the therapist. Because what she made me do an exercise where she told me to write a letter to my younger self.
Yeah.
I went home, I wrote the letter. And this is before, because I've only been on social media really like 3.5 years. Like, a lot of people think I've been on it longer because I have like a decent following on these platforms, but it happened so quick. But of course I do have background with marketing promotion, so I know how to tap into the algorithm. But at the same time, it's the most genuine journey. Like, somebody said that, like, oh, you're using your pain. Like, I'm way more creative than to like use my pain. For revenue, like so many more things.
But hold on, let's not get too far, right? Because you said that you think you broke your therapist. He told you to do this.
So I went home. I wrote a letter to my younger self, you know, and I share this a lot on my page. I repost it, and you know, because this is like I said, again, this is my fourth session, and I read it to her, and as I'm reading, I'm emotional because it took me a lot to write it and articulate it. So I'm like, because usually like she was just giving me feedback. She was talking, and I look up, and she like holding her tears. So she crying, and I'm like, I'm lost, because I'm like, you know, it's such of like a force field around people in the mental health space, because you're like going to this person for all the answers. Yeah. So I'm in therapy for help. And it's like, you crying. I wasn't ready for that. But the same thing I'm doing on social media was what I was doing. I'm like,
what she was doing there.
I'm like,
just being.
I asked her. I said, what's wrong? Like, why are you crying? She's like, oh, like, but like, it's hard to watch the movie you star in. Yeah. I never heard myself really, like, because this was before the videos and everything. It's even with my son, like my son, you know. And my son, like I say, he been on Dr. Oz, Good Morning America. We've been at Namibia, Tanzania, Johannesburg. His largest audience was 20,000 people. So even though I homeschooled my son, raised my son by myself, it kind of was like, I wouldn't say an imposter syndrome, but that's my first trigger cry. Or my first, a lot of times we have like a trigger laugh, but again, like, I'm not afraid to cry or like tap into that space. But it was like an imposter syndrome for like me and my son. Because my son became my hero. My son became,
That's cool.
Take your time, man.
But again, like I said, I be doing this on live. Like,
I love it because it's so.
One thing about mental, you know, like, you're about to cry. It changed your whole voice and everything. You can't talk no. So you gotta like
cry yesterday.
You gotta like pause it, and we get on the phone and distract ourselves. Like, you know, but like I said, you know, if you have never been 100% completely honest out loud, then you have never been yourself in the presence of anyone. So like I said, like I don't mind giving my soul to the people that's watching. I don't mind giving my soul to you guys, right? Because that's like I was about to say this earlier. When y'all was talking about vulnerability, y'all kept saying that it was hard. It's something called neurological pathways, right? Your neurological pathways is literally your neural connectors that connects based on your habits and your behaviors,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So when you go to work, when you do everything you do every day, it's literally your mental and emotional algorithm. You have an algorithm,
Mhm.
because technology mimics human behavior.
Yeah.
The algorithm is just our neurological pathway system,
Okay.
right? So we have to break the habits of saying that vulnerability is hard.
Yeah.
Vulnerability and accountability. Accountability is the highest level of self-love. Vulnerability is it's the Wi-Fi of truth. You know, it's
That's
the
deep.
major thing that can
That's
connect
deep.
us as humans. You know,
Let me ask you a question. Us as men, to me, it's harder for men to be vulnerable when they're uncomfortable, right? They got to be comfortable around somebody to let them be
turtle shell syndrome.
right. They got to be comfortable around somebody that makes them feel like okay to be vulnerable.
Provide a safe space.
File a safe space. So for you, when you said you told, okay, you held everything in since you was young until that 20.
You should ask my son, mother.
Yes, exactly, right?
Mhm.
What was that moment, and what makes you say I need to tell somebody? What happened there? Because it had to be some type
This
of...
wasn't. We're not gonna go where you think we're gonna go. This was Afghanistan. Me and
Huh?
me, me and my son mother was Afghanistan. Like
In Afghanistan?
no, like
What?
we torpedoed. We were we trauma bonded. Like my son mother was molested as well.
Uh-huh.
And we were verbally abusive. Like so, we battled with trauma. Oh, that's why you got molested. Oh, you got molested.
Oh.
So it was Afghanistan. Like
Okay, so it was a thing that brought you together.
no.
No,
Well, look, my son mother was a boy. She wasn't even a person.
Okay.
So what I mean by that, sometimes we don't date people, we date voids.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My son mother was the first person that gave me time and attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what my mother never gave me. So she was the absence of my mother.
Yeah.
She wasn't a person. I
Yeah.
Before I knew her, I was connected to how she was showing up for me.
Yeah.
She was the first eyes I seen see
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that made
I
you
got what you're
attracted
saying.
to her. It wasn't just
That made me go, yo,
somebody
I exist.
No, but you know
You know what
when I think that happens a lot of time in our community, right?
Yeah.
Because I be thinking about when I see like these younger girls that be pregnant, I'm like, damn, you got pregnant young only because you was looking for love for
Yeah.
somebody just to see you.
Yeah.
You was, you know what I'm saying?
And that's what it was,
Yeah.
like, because like growing up, man, you're gonna be dead before you're 18. You a loser. You're nothing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know I was here. Like I was just alive, right? And it's a difference between being alive and living. And
Yeah.
I just was breathing.
Yeah.
You know, my son, mother, and that's why even though I raised my son by myself,
Yeah.
for the most part, because her trauma impacted her and affected her more. She did a few years, right? That's how I got custody of my son.
Gotcha.
But this is why I always give her credit, because sometimes we discredit the people that invested in us.
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes invested in me. So the value that she gave me still became the value I gave my son.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for her seeing me, I don't know the person that I would be.
Yeah.
Right. So even though she was just, you know, I was racist too. Like, you know, like
What you mean?
light skin, long hair. Like I hated myself. I hated dark skin girls.
Yeah.
Just ignorant, right? So when
Yeah.
I say manufactured love syndrome,
Yeah.
so to see someone that beautiful like me,
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm saying? It was like, wow, like, so that was just a little girl. Because women, I always say, like, because women say I'm not here to raise a man. I always say just the fact that you are a woman, you're always raising a man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So she raised my self-esteem without even knowing it.
But that's what females
That's
do.
what they do. Yeah.
That's what they do.
But we gotta tell them that though.
That's right. Listen, a female can make a person with fucking pennies in their
Make
pocket
you
feel like you got $1 million.
$1 million,
They
yeah,
understand they had to tap into that.
Make
Look,
you
you got a penny, baby, but listen.
start sweeping, make you get a
You know
job.
what I'm saying?
Make you
You
get
need
a
it.
license.
That's what they do.
That's what you needed to get you to that next hump, man.
They don't look
Yeah.
at power.
And that's what we gotta do. Like we gotta. So same way.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't take all the credit, even though I put the finishing touches on my son. My son started with the foundation of that young lady seeing me.
Yeah.
So with her seeing me, with her connecting to me, with her giving me life, that became the life of me, my story, my son. So to go to my son and touch on my son, and that imposter syndrome, watching this kid, and even that's what my therapist told me, like, because it was like my background, videography, photography.
Yeah.
I had like 4,000 pictures of my son, and content. Like I
Yeah.
still got 7 years worth of my son,
Yeah.
and his story. Like we have like layers of like freedom and
Yeah.
healing just in our journey. But I had like 2 pictures. I never took pictures of myself much. I've been around the world.
Yeah.
We met everybody. But I had like 2 pictures. And my therapist was like, you're still running away from yourself. So this is the reason why I never did Little Big Shots, Good Morning America, all of these big platforms. I'm not even there. I'm in the back. Like, even when he used to be like, oh, my dad, and the whole room used to look at me, I used to just go like, because it's like I say, just somebody so great, so powerful. Even when my son went back to school, because he went back to high school, and he just floated. But even though, like I said, I homeschooled my son, and mind you, I couldn't read, I couldn't write really when I graduated high school. But I homeschooled my son from 4th grade on. Like my son was still struggling academically. And the crazy part about when I went to the foster home from school, because when I got molested, that became a domino effect of everything I couldn't say. Became me angry, fighting. So I used to just throw books, jump on desks. I became a class clown because I was running from my pain. So instead of reading, I'm throwing this book today.
But I don't know if it's a statistic or off top, but a lot of the black men that's incarcerated, they're incarcerated because they can't read, they can't write, and they have no way to
express articulate it.
Yes, articulate it.
Yeah.
A lot of them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, even me, I was born with dyslexia. I had to learn how to read and write. You know what I'm saying? But when I was younger, oh man, I was a fucking problem.
We rather die before we live.
Oh, wow.
We rather die.
Oh, 100%.
Before we say,
no,
hey,
100%.
I was molested. Like some of us would rather, like that was my aggression. That was my anger. I wasn't tough. I was scared. I was afraid to say these things.
No,
Right.
100%. I had to 100% because that gave me an edge.
Yeah.
When I knew I was struggling in these aspects of my life as a younger man, it gave me an edge. I was fighting. I ain't give a fuck about nobody. Let's go right now. Fighting everybody in the neighborhood. I ain't give a fuck. But
the fight becomes our emotional transaction.
Yeah.
Because
yes.
I have no safe space. So the only way, because even me, like the only time I got all the attention in the house and never love. But love, my mother said she was beating me because she loved me. So guess when I got my love?
Yeah.
When my mother was beating me.
Yeah.
So that's what love was to me. That's what my mother gave me all the time and attention when I was acting up.
Yeah.
But like I say, to touch on like why I got sent to the foster home, because I hit my principal with a chain. I still remember his name, Mr. Piscopo, Cleveland.
What kind of chain? Not like a
dog chain.
A dog chain.
The lean on me chain.
Like a ball and chain.
the lean on me chain. To take the chain off.
Off the door chain. Jesus Christ, that's wow.
And it literally was like on the door, like so he was chasing me, and I seen the chain, and I just literally chain marks.
Yeah, that's what
I'm not laughing.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing, like my son went to that same exact school, same class. So even walking him in that building triggered me so much. But so like I said, like my son not reading, not writing, and me homeschooling my son was one of the most triggering things. And like I parented my son like I was saving myself, and I just wasn't about to watch it happen again.
Yeah.
And this is what happens to us in life when we talk about breaking generational curses.
Yeah.
Like I was living it. I was living, like I would say, a man that grew up without a father can heal himself by being there for his son. I didn't know how to love. I had to learn it.
I seen that post on your Instagram, and that really touched me a lot. So when you said you was pretty much like with your son, you was kind of like making sure that he had a whole different way of life to look towards, to in opposing to what you went through. So you was rebuilding him up a way that you didn't want to ever see yourself.
A beast. A computer, man. Like so, people didn't even know what they was watching. Like I remember. I think we was in, I don't know if it was Dubai and Namibia or somewhere, and they said, "Man, how did you build this confidence?" Like I never built it. I just never took it away.
Yeah.
You know, like when I say computer, man,
Yeah.
like I think age and grades is the worst thing we could do for children because I ain't do grades. I just installed information.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember like my mother ain't have money, so like, okay, I got my big sister coat. I used to just give my son information and I watched him grow into it. So this is why when people talking to my son and like, oh, you're wise, and like he could like, what 9-year-old could talk for 2 hours on the stage? No repeating itself, just like computer. But this wasn't like, this was fear, this was pain, it was love. So it was just, man, like it was my love, it was my fear, it was my tears. So it was the same thing when it came to just trying to be the best father that I could be.
Yeah.
You know, meeting my pain, meeting my momentum.
Yeah.
And that became I put everything, you know, I put everything in him to the point, you know, because trauma stunt your growth.
Yeah.
When you're not able to like process life emotionally. So I like so many different processes of stunted growth.
Yeah.
But also like, it's a good and a bad thing. And the crazy thing, because I just made a post about, and it's crazy because I just literally did it like 2 days ago. And literally it's like 3 million views in 3 days. And it's about parenting and how parents show up.
Yeah.
A good and a bad thing. So literally like after 2020, like, because my son is 18 now.
Yeah.
But I'm literally in the process, let alone like when we talk about healing and you
Okay.
talk about finally balancing your nervous system.
Right.
Because it's something also called psychological age regression. Psychological age regression is when you experience your highest level of trauma, you're triggered back into that age, right?
Yeah.
So even though I was 10, I was still 6. Even though I was 15, I was still 6.
Yeah.
I was still the age of my 6-year-old self that balled up after I was molested.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
deep.
So that's called psychological age regression. Sometimes like you're the age of your highest trauma.
Yeah.
So even now with my son, I stunted my growth again because I put all my time, energy, and development into him.
Yeah.
So literally, like I'm still figuring out just how to live and catching up to my childhood, and then catching up to the time and space that I put into him.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like,
but and this is the journey that you're on now. Let's figuring that out because you have a quote that you said, you're not a man until you be something.
oh,
What is that?
yeah, when the little boy is healed, that's actually my book title.
Yeah.
When the little boy is healed, the man will show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That was tough.
Yeah.
Yo, like
So
Yes,
and,
yes.
and that's what and I guess you was that little boy that started to heal
Yeah.
that time that you let everything out.
And everything, like my son was a part of the process.
Yeah.
Life, I would say, like problems only mean you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with that quote. One of my partners, man, is a mortician, and I remember like I was working with him. You know, sometimes you work and you desensitize. Like,
Yeah.
so he worked at Cotton Funeral Homes. His name is Muhammad the mortician, and like one time we in the funeral home and like he just walked me in the door and it's like 6 bodies, like, and I'm like froze, like I have a panic attack. Like I'm like, you know,
yeah.
but just it was like a moment of peace. Like this one was mom's, this one was this person got a story, this person got a journey, but it's just silence, right? And we don't know how blessed we are to have a bad day.
Yeah.
We don't know how blessed we are to have adversity. You know what I'm saying? So when I say problems only mean you alive,
Problems only mean.
you know what I'm saying? And you be like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
be thankful.
Yeah, and I say that all the
You know what
time
I'm saying?
because
That's
that's
real
part
though.
of that's part of the learning experience, man. The progress and just learning what you got to do to make it to the next day, man. So I cherish any type of problems and issues that I come across because it's only gonna make me better to figure it out. You know, so now if I can solve that problem, then you know it's a problem solved, and I could probably help the next individual. You know, so
Crazy thing you gotta start telling people, man. You got a problem right now, but at least you're allowed to handle it.
handle it, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And like even like with this journey, man. Like I always say, you can't hold on and jump at the same time,
Yeah,
right? So literally, right now, while we're talking, I'm in the air.
yeah,
Everything I do, booking events, like I was telling, like somebody reached out to me like a year ago for movies and interviews, and it's like I was turning everything down, and it's
Yeah.
like, but I was doing the same thing with my son, and it never was money for me. It never was platforms. Like I say, my son was on Dr. Oz, Good Morning America. My son is in Forbes. You look up the most motivational kid in America, my son is there. Right? They put me in there, but I never cared. You know, because it genuinely was about him. Like I never wanted my son to be on nobody's social media. This was that energy. Like my son would say the crazy, not crazy, but my son mind was tapped in. So it was like, man, like he would just say stuff, and like we literally stunt our own growth. Because like sometimes we again, when we talk about product of our environment, like when you succeed past the environment, you don't understand, like you're still behind.
Okay. Can you touch on that one? You got me on it.
Like if your parents is in survival mode, and you trying to live life to the fullest, just because you get out of survival mode don't mean you're living. Right? Just like they say, think outside the box. But that's a game too, because you think it's one. It's like 10 boxes. It's a box inside a box, inside another box, inside another box.
I got what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even that, like, for one, the fact that I'm here, like so many of my friends died before they turned 18. And even for me, that was triggering when my son turned 16. And the thing about healing, like when I say healing is allowing your mind to catch up with your heart, you know, I had a numbness that protected me. So it's a gift and a gift. When it comes to sometimes that survival mode protects you. Because I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for that coldness that I did have because of my upbringing. Because now, like once you start working on yourself, once you start healing, once you start balancing your nervous system, and now I'm not the same person. So like what triggered me when my son turned 16, I made the lifespan of my friends that we thought we lived at 16 when we were dying. So it's like, man, when my son turned 16, I'm like, man, I made my friends, and that is like we didn't live. I thought we lived, and I thought we was alive, and it was like it was so triggering because I ain't cry for my friends because I ain't even know how to cry. But like it hit me later, like when they say don't sweep everything under the rug. And now when that rug is at the ceiling, you know what I'm saying, and now you got to process those tears. You thought you didn't cry, but those tears ain't going nowhere.
Ain't going nowhere. It's still there.
You know what I'm saying?
Inside,
And it's like that space is like what a lot of us run from. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, yo. I mean, listen, I know that our time is like about to wrap up here, right? But on the last question, what would you tell people that that's want to break through, right? That want to break through where they at right now, and what would you tell people what's the first step they should do to try to just break through and get past where they currently at? You know, they're scared to express themselves about anything that's going on with them, either they being molested or they grieving from, you know, anything that's going on. What would you tell people? What is that first step?
Accountability is the highest level of self-love. You know, you have to be accountable for yourself, for your journey. Some people go to therapy and lie to the therapist. It's like no one can help you if you're not willing to be honest with yourself or anyone else, and value your triggers, right? So a lot of people run from their triggers. I always say like triggers are like a check engine light. When you see the check engine light come on in the car, you could ignore it if you want. But the check engine light is only a signal to a deeper problem. Right? So you think of the engine and the transmission, you equate that to your mind and your heart, right? So you have to be offensive. If you don't take initiative to meet your problems up front, then you're only going to deal with yourself whenever you're triggered, angry, or miserable. And you have to work on the things that you struggle with, because that's how you take your power. So a lot of people, like I say, like I don't care if it's 2 million people, I saying out loud that I was molested and I went through these things used to own me. Right? Even like this ring. This is a moon ring. It means don't be a slave to your emotions. Right? So anybody who meet me know me. Because I don't have no skeletons in my closet that you don't know. I don't have like nothing. I like it's like so free.
You're free.
I don't want to remember. I don't want to have to remember who I was pretending to be last time I talked to you. I don't have no weight. Right? So it starts with accountability.
So accountability.
It starts with honesty. It starts with with integrity, right? And human behavior is a relationship,
Yeah.
right? So even in relationships, there's no such thing as being single. You're always in a relationship with yourself. So show me the problems of a relationship, and I'll show you a problem of an individual,
Yeah.
right? So it's that auditing of yourself
Self-worth. That's
You know what I'm
self-worth.
saying? and self-love, and just not being afraid to genuinely, truly look in the mirror.
There you
Some
go.
people only look in the
Yeah.
mirror with makeup. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even talking about just physical makeup.
Yeah.
Like they have to make up a story, make up a lie to look at themselves. Look at yourself.
Yeah.
Deal with yourself. Start with yourself. You know?
There you
Yeah,
go.
They say that's the real work when you really dealing with what's inside of yourself.
Well,
Yeah,
but there you go.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Look at yourself and be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Yeah.
I think that's a
Some
wrap.
people could take. Tell people where they can find you at, all that good stuff.
Dash Hudson. I might be changing that soon. You know, as a company,
Mm-hmm.
but Dash Hudson Instagram or Dash Hudson _ but just Dash Hudson on everything. And I have so many things coming. I have a lot of things. You know, it just my journey been just waiting for me because I've been stunting my own growth, but it's a real process taking place
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
in the journey because
Gotcha.
my soul is included.
Gotcha.
So it's a process, but Dash Hudson, and that's it.
Yeah, well, we
Definitely
following you,
Def-
man.
definitely
And looking at that
moving
journey.
me, definitely moving
Appreciate
me.
it.
Yeah, looking at that journey, man. And you
Same
inspire
thing.
me too as well, man.
Appreciate
So I really appreciate you coming
Thank
on.
y'all for being a part of this journey too.
Yes,
So
indeed.
hopefully, man, this I ain't gonna say hopefully. I know I share pieces, but whatever I could do, man, for y'all building and growing y'all platform. But thank y'all for giving me a platform, and I wish you guys nothing but well. I used to tell people I wish you nothing but success, but that's not enough. I wish you everything the journey requires to be successful.
Let's
There you
go.
go.
I like
Let's
that.
go. Let's go. My
Hey,
man.
man, I'm gonna get
Listen.
a dictionary.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, yo. You know what I mean? Process over past with my man Dash. Thank you very much.